Hello, I'm John Johnson, and I'd like to tell you a little about my research. In 1994, I moved to the Ukraine to live there 5 years. I learned to speak Russian and became the first American to write a dissertation about leadership in the Ukraine. As a part of that study, I looked at an organization which was an entrepreneurial organization that had been started by a former school teacher who became an entrepreneur. And in looking at her and those that followed her, I began to realize that there were significant barriers to women who began to start businesses in the Ukraine. Then I consulted with my spouse, Hannah Sanko, who is originally from the Ukraine. She confirmed that there were barriers for women who started businesses there as well. And so a few years ago, I found funding to do a nationwide study on barriers to entrepreneurship for women in the Ukraine. The first thing that we did was to send Ukrainian researchers out to 22 different regions of the Ukraine to interview successful entrepreneurs and just ask them what their barriers had been. After that, we followed it up with a 1,000-person survey asking the same questions. The results were both surprising and predictable. We thought that perhaps government bureaucracy would be a barrier, and in fact, it was. But we didn't expect that lack of qualified personnel to be a problem. And in fact, the entrepreneurs reported that it was hard for them to find the personnel that they needed. This was surprising in a country with a border war where the unemployment rate is very high. Entrepreneurs there seemed to really appreciate the work that we had done. Although the barriers were not any different, at least they had identified them and could make some strategies about how to overcome them. This study has been widely published in the Ukraine and carried by media there. I've been interviewed on television several times there about the study, and my spouse, Hannah Sanko, and I have presented it both there and in the United States. We're taking the study further now. We started it in Poland this year and are beginning to replicate it there, and we're hoping at some point in the coming year to replicate it in Mexico as well. Thank you for listening, and may we always remember that we are together for good.